Today I will be continuing reading the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy. So this is Paris, quoth I, continuing in the same mood. And this is Paris, humph, Paris, cried I, repeating the name the third time. The first, the finest, the most brilliant. The streets, however, are nasty. But it looks, I suppose, better than it smells. Crack, 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 what a fuss thou makest. As if it concerned the good people to be informed that a man with a pale face and clad in black had the honour to be driven into Paris at 9 o'clock at night by a postilion in a tawny yellow jerkin, tuned up with red calamanco. Crack, I wish thy whip, but 'tis the spirit of thy nation, so crack, crack on. Ha, and no one gives the wool, but in the school of urbanity herself. If the walls are beshite, how can you do otherwise? And prithee, when do they light the lamps? What? Never in the summer months? Oh, 'tis the time of salads. Oh, rare, salads and soup. Soup and salad and soup, encore. 'Tis too much for sinners. Now I cannot bear the barbarity of it. How can that unconscionable coachman talk so much bawdy to the lean horse? Don't you see, friends, the streets are so villainously narrow that there is not room in all Paris to turn a wheelbarrow. In the grandest city in the whole world it would not have been amiss if they had been left a thought wider, nay, were it only so much in every single street, as that a man might know, was it only for satisfaction, on which side of it he was walking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cooks' shops, and twice the number of barbers, and all within 3 minutes' driving. One would think that all the cooks in the world, on some great merry meeting with the barbers, by joint consent, had said, "Come, let us all go live in Paris. The French love good eating. They all are gourmands. We shall rank high, if their god is their belly. Their cooks must be gentlemen, and forasmuch as the periwig maketh the man, and the periwig maker maketh the periwig, ergo, what the barber say, we shall rank higher still. We shall be above you all. We shall be capitalists, at least. Pardy, we shall all wear swords, and so one would swear that is, by candlelight, but there is no depending upon it. They continue to do, to this day. The French are certainly misunderstood, but whether the fault is theirs is not sufficiently explaining themselves or speaking with that exact limitation and precision which one would expect on a point of such importance, and which, moreover, is so likely to be contested by us, or whether the fault may not be altogether on our side, is not understanding their language, always so critically as to know what they would be at. I shall not decide. 'Tis evident to me when they affirm that they who have seen Paris have seen everything. They must mean to speak of those who have seen it by daylight. As for candlelight, I give up. I have said before, there was no depending upon it, and I repeat it again, but not because the lights and shades are too sharp, or the tints confounded, or that there is neither beauty nor keeping, and see, for that's not truth, but it is an uncertain light in this respect, that in all the 500 grand hotels which they number up to you in Paris, and the 500 good things, at a modest computation, for it is only allowing one good thing to a hotel, which by candlelight are best to be seen, felt, heard, and understood, which, by the by, in a quotation from Lilly, the devil, one of us, out of 50, can get our heads fairly thrust in amongst them. This is no part of a French computation, 'tis simply this, that by the last survey taken in the year 1716, since which time there have been considerable augmentations, Paris doth contain 900 streets. In the quarter called the City there are 53 streets. In St. James of the Shambles 55 streets. In St. Opportune 34 streets. In the quarter of the Louvre 25 streets. In the Palace Royal or St. Honoris 49 streets. In Montmartre 41 streets. In St. Eustace 29 streets. In the Hills 27 streets. In St. Denis 55 streets. In St. Martin 54 streets. In St. Paul or the Motellerie 27 streets. The Greve 38 streets. In St. Avoy or the Verrerie 19 streets. In the Marais or the Temple 52 streets. In St. Anthony 68 streets. In the Palace Maubert 81 streets. In St. Benet 60 streets. In St. Andrew d'Ars 51 streets. In the quarter of the Luxembourg 62 streets. And in that of St. Germain 55 streets, into any of which you may walk, and that when you have seen them, with all that belongs to them, fairly by daylight, their gates, their bridges, their squares, their statues, and have crusaded it, moreover, through all their parish churches, by no means omitting St. Roche and Sulpice, and to crown all, we have taken a walk to the 4 palaces, which you may see either with or without the statues and pictures, just as you choose. Then you have seen, but 'tis what no one needeth to tell you, for you will read of it yourself upon the portico of the Louvre, in these words: Earth no such folks, no folks here such a town as Paris is, sing derry, derry down. The French have a gay way of treating everything that is great, and that is all can be said upon it. Chapter 19. In mentioning the word gay, as in the close of the last chapter, inputs one, i.e. an author, in the mind of the word spleen, especially if he has anything to say upon it. Not that by any analysis, or that from any table of interest or genealogy, there appears much more ground of alliance betwixt them than betwixt light and darkness, or any two of the most unfriendly opposites in nature. Only 'tis an undergraft of authors. To keep up a good understanding amongst words, as politicians do amongst men, not knowing how near they may be under a necessity of placing them to each other, which point being now gained, and that I may place mine exactly to my mind, I write it down here. Spleen. This, upon leaving Chantilly, I declared to be the best principle in the world to travel speedily upon, but I gave it only as matter of opinion. I still continue in the same sentiments, only I had not then experience enough of its workings to add this, that though you do get on at a tearing rate, yet you get on but uneasily, to yourself at the same time, for which reason I here quit it entirely and forever, and 'tis heartily at anyone's service. It has spoiled me the digestion of a good supper, and brought on a bilious diarrhea, which has brought me back again to my first principle, on which I set out, and with which I shall now scamper it away to the banks of the Garonne. No, I cannot stop a moment to give you the character of the peoples, their genius, their manners, their customs, their laws, their religion, their government, their manufactures, their commerce, their finances, with all the resources and hidden springs which sustain them, qualified as I may be, by spending 3 days and 2 nights amongst them, and during all that time making these things the entire subject of my inquiries and reflections. Still I must away. The roads are paved, the posts are short, the days are long. 'Tis no more than noon. I shall be at Fontainebleau before the king. Was he going there? Not that I know. Chapter 20. Now I hate to hear a person, especially if he be a traveller, complain that we do not get on so fast in France as we do in England, whereas we get on much faster. Consideralis, considerandis, thereby always meaning that if you weigh their vehicles with the mountains of baggage, and then consider their puny horses, with the very little they give them, 'tis a wonder they get on at all. Their suffering is most unchristian, and 'tis evident thereupon to me that a French post-horse would not know what in the world to do, was it not for the 2 words blank and blank, in which there is as much sustenance as if you gave them a peck of corn. Now as these words cost nothing, I long from my soul to tell the reader what they are, but here is the question. They must be told him plainly, and with the most distinct articulation, for it will answer no end, and yet to do it in that plain way, though their reverence may laugh at it in the bed-chamber, full well I wot, they will abuse it in the parlour, for which cause I have been volving and revolving in my fancy some time, but to no purpose, by what clean device or facet, contrivance I might so modulate them, that whilst I satisfy that ear which the reader chooses to lend me, I might not dissatisfy the other which he keeps to himself. My ink burns the finger to try, and when I have, 'twill have a worse consequence. It will burn, I fear, my paper. No, I dare not. But if you wish to know how the Abbess of Andouille and a novice of our convent got over the difficulty, only first wishing myself all imaginable success, I'll tell you without the least scruple. Chapter 21. The Abbess of Andouille, which you look into the largest set of provincial maps now published at Paris, you will find situated amongst the hills which divide Burgundy from Savoy, being in danger of an ankylosis, or stiff joint, the synovia of her knee becoming hard by long matan, and having tried every remedy, first prayers and thanksgivings, then invocations to all the saints in heaven, promiscuously, then particularly to every saint who has ever had a stiff leg before her, then touching it with all the relics of the convent, principally with the thigh-bone of the man of Lystra, who had been impotent from his youth, then wrapping it up in her veil when she went to bed, then crosswise her rosary, then bringing into her aid the secular arm, and anointing it with oils and hot fat of animals, and resolving fomentations, and with poultices of marshmallow, mallow, bonus henricus, white lilies, and fenugreek, then taking the woods, the smoke of 'em, holding her scapulary across her lap, then decoctions of wild chicory, watercresses, chervil, sweet cicely, and cochinealia, and nothing, all this, while answering, was prevailed on, at last to try the hot baths of Bourbon. So having first obtained leave of the Visitor General to take care of her existence, she ordered all to be got ready for her journey. A novice of the convent of about 17, who had been troubled with a whitlaw in her middle finger, by sticking it constantly into the abbess's cast poultices, and such, had gained such an interest that, overlooking a sciatical old nun who might have been set up forever by the hot baths of Bourbon, Margarita, the little novice, was elected as the companion of the journey. An old calash belonging to the abbess, lined with green frieze, was ordered to be drawn out into the sun. The gardener of the convent, being chosen muleteer, led out the 2 old mules to clip the hair from the rump ends of their tails, whilst a couple of lay sisters were busied, the one in darning at the lining, the other in sewing on the shreds of yellow binding, which the teeth of time had unravelled. The under-gardener dressed the muleteer's hat in hot wine lees, and a tailor sat musically at it in a shed over against the convent, in assorting 4 dozen of bells for the harness, whistling to each bell as he tied it on with a thong. The carpenter and the smith of Andweel held a council of wheels, and by 7 the morning after, all looked spruce, and was ready at the gate of the convent for the hot baths of Bourbon. 2 rows of the unfortunate stood ready there an hour before. The Abbess of Andweel, supported by Margarita the novice, advanced slowly to the calash, both clad in white, with their black rosaries hanging at their breasts. There was a simple solemnity in the contrast. They entered the calash, the nuns in the same uniform, sweet emblem of innocence. Each occupied a window, and as the abbess and Margarita looked up, each, the sciatical poor nun excepted, each streamed out the end of her veil in the air, then kissed the lily hand which let it go. The good abbess and Margarita laid their hands saint-wise upon their breasts, looked up to heaven, then to them, and looked, "God bless you, dear sisters." I declare I am interested in this story and wish I had been there. The gardener, whom I shall now call the muleteer, was a little, hearty, broad-set, good-natured, chattering, topping kind of fellow, who troubled his head very little with the hows and the winds of life. So had mortgaged a month of his conventicle wages in a Borachio, or 11 cask of wine, which he had disposed behind the calash with a large russet-coloured riding coat over it, to guard it from the sun, as the weather was hot, and he not a niggard of his labours, walking 10 times more than he rode. He found more occasion than those of nature to fall back to the rear of his carriage, till, by frequent coming and going, it had so happened that all his wine had leaked out at the legal vent of the Borachio. Before one half of the journey was finished. Man is a creature born to habitudes. The day had been sultry, the evening was delicious, the wine was generous, the Burgundian hill on which it grew was steep, a little tempting bush over the door of a cool cottage at the foot of it hung vibrating in full harmony with the passions. A gentle air rustled distinctly through the leaves. Come, come, thirsty muleteer, come in. The muleteer was a son of Adam. I need not say one word more. He gave the mules, each of them, a sound lash, and looking in the Abbess and Margarita's faces as he did it, as much as to say, here I am, he gave a second good crack, as much as to say to his mules, get on. So slinking behind, he entered the little inn at the foot of the hill. The muleteer, as I told you, was a little, joyous, chirping fellow, who thought not of tomorrow, nor of what had gone before, or what was to follow it, provided he got but his scantling of Burgundy, and a little chit-chat along with it. So entering into a long conversation, as how he was chief gardener to the convent of Andouille, and so forth, and out of friendship for the Abbess and Mademoiselle Margarita, who was only in her noviciate, he had come along with them from the confines of Savoy, and such, and as how she had got a while swelling by her devotions, and what a nation of herbs he had procured to mollify her humours, and so forth, and that if the waters of Bourbon did not mend that leg, she might as well be lain by both, etc. He so contrived his story as absolutely to forget the heroine of it, and with her the little novice, and what was a more ticklish point to be forgot than both, the 2 mules, who being creatures that take advantage of the world insomuch as their parents took it of them, and they not being in a condition to return the obligation downwards, as men and women and beasts are, they do it sideways and long ways and back ways, and uphill and downhill, and which way they can. Philosophers, with all their ethics, have never considered this rightly. How should the poor muleteer, then in his cups, consider it all? He did not in the least. 'Tis time we do. Let us leave him then in the vortex of his element, the happiest and most faultless of mortal men. And for a moment let us look after the mules, the Abbess and Margarita. By virtue of the muleteer, 2 last strokes, the mules had gone quietly on, following their own conscience up the hill, till they had conquered about 1/2 of it, when the elder of them, a shrewd, crafty old devil, at the turn of an angle, giving a side glance, and no muleteer behind them, By my fig, said she, swearing, I'll go no further, and if I do, replied the other, they shall make a drum of my hide. And so, with one consent, they stopped thus. Chapter 22. Get on with you, said the Abbess. What? Wish, yish, cried Margarita. Sha, shoo, shoo, shaw, shawed the Abbess. Woof, woof, woofed Margarita, pursing up her sweet lips betwixt a hoot and a whistle. Thump, 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 obstrupated the Abbess Van Duyl, with the end of her gold-headed cane against the bottom of the calash. We are ruined and undone, my child, said the Abbess to Margarita. We shall be here all night. We shall be plundered. We shall be ravished. We shall be ravished, said Margarita, as sure as a gun. Sancta Maria, said the Abbess, forgetting the awe. Why was I governed by this wicked stiff joint? Why did I leave the convent of Andouille? And why didst thou not suffer thy servant to go unpolluted to her tomb? Oh, my finger, cried the novice, catching fire at the word servant. Why was I not content to put it here or there, anywhere, rather than be in this strait? Strait, said the Abbess. Strait, said the novice, for terror had struck their understandings. The one knew not what she said, the other what she answered. Oh, my virginity, virginity, cried the Abbess. Virginity, virginity, said the novice, sobbing. Chapter 24. My dear mother, quoth the novice, coming a little to herself. There are two certain words which I have been told will force any horse or ass or mule to go up a hill, whether he will or not, be he ever so obstinate or ill-willed. The moment he hears them uttered, he obeys. They are words magic, cried the Abbess in the utmost horror. No, replied Margarita calmly, but they are words sinful. What are they? Quoth the Abbess, interrupting her. They are sinful in the first degree, answered Margarita. They are mortal, and if we are ravished and die unabsolved of them, we shall both. But you may pronounce them to me, quoth the Abbess of Andouille. They cannot, my dear mother, said the novice, be pronounced at all. They will make all the blood in one's body fly up into one's face. But you may whisper them in my ear, quoth the Abbess. Heaven, hadst thou no guardian angel to delegate to the inn at the bottom of the hill? Was there no generous and friendly spirit unemployed, no agent in nature, by some monetary shivering, creeping along the artery which led to his heart, to rouse the muleteer from his banquet? No sweet minstrelsy to bring back the fair idea of the Abbess and Margarita with their black rosaries? Rouse, rouse, but 'tis too late. The horrid words are pronounced this moment, and how to tell them, ye who can speak of everything existing with unpolluted lips, instruct me, guide me. Chapter 25. All sins whatever, quoth the Abbess, turning a Suisse in the distress they were under, are held by the confessor of our convent to be either mortal or venial. There is no further division. Now a venial sin, being the slightest and least of all sins, being halved by taking either only the half of it and leaving the rest, or by taking it all and amicably halving it betwixt yourself and another person, in course becomes diluted into no sin at all. Now I see no sin in saying bo, 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 bo 100 times together, nor is there any turpitude in pronouncing the syllable gur, 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 were it from our matins to our vespers. Therefore, my dear daughter, continued the Abbess of Andouillé, I will say bo, and thou shalt say gur, and then alternately, as there is no more sin in foo than in boo, thou shalt say foo. And accordingly the Abbess, giving the pitch notes, set off thus: Abbess, bo, 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 Margarita, gur, 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 Margarita, fo, 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 Abbess, tur, tur, tur. The two mules acknowledged the notes by a mutual lash of their tails, but it went no further. "'Twill answer by and by," said the novice. Abbess, bo, 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 Margarita, gur, 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 gur. "Quicker still," cried Margarita. "Fo, fo, 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 fo." "Quicker still," cried Margarita. "Bo, bo, 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 bo." "Quicker still, God preserve me," said the Abbess. "They do not understand us," cried Margarita. "But the devil does," said the Abbess of Andouillé. Chapter 26. What a tract of country have I run! How many degrees nearer to the warm sun am I advanced, and how many fair and goodly cities have I seen during the time you have been reading and reflecting, madam, upon this story. There's Fontainebleau, and Sens, and Joigny, and Auxerre, and Dijon, the capital of Burgundy, and Chalon, and Masson, the capital of Massonnaise, and a score more upon the road to Lyon, and now I have run them over, I might as well talk to you of so many market towns in the moon, and tell you one word about them. It will be this chapter, at the least, if not both, this and the next entirely lost, do what I will. Why, 'tis a strange story, Tristram. Alas, madam, had it been upon some melancholy lecture of the cross, the peace of meekness, or the contentment of resignation, I had not been incommoded, or had I thought of writing it upon the purer abstraction of the soul, and that food, wisdom, and holiness, and contemplation upon which the spirits of man, when separated from the body, is to subsist for ever, you would have come with a better appetite for it. I wish I had never wrought it, but as I never blot anything out, let us use some honest means to get it out of our heads directly. Pray reach me my fool's cap. I fear you sit upon it, madam. 'Tis under the cushion. I'll put it on. Bless me, you have had it upon your head this half hour. There, then let it stay.